Hi. Hey, Lauren, you made it. You're muted.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night,
Oh,
Josh.
there we go. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Owen, hello.
Hi there. How are you?
Hi. I'm good.
Good.
All right, so let's see. Let's see, we're recorded. I guess that's it. Let's go ahead and get started. And Nicole said she expected to join, but hopefully she will soon. We have a quorum. This is the Open Space Committee meeting, August 27th, 2023. The meeting is called to order at 7:02 p.m. And members present are Maureen Manasian, Lauren Webb, and myself, Eileen Heine. And Owen Gray from Wildlands Trust is here as a guest. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the June 15th, 2023 meeting?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second? All right. Can I approve them as I wrote them? So it's unanimous. They are approved. Now let's see. We don't have anyone here. Oh, all right. So that's what I need to do. I need to make sure I'm checking the waiting room. No, nobody's there. Okay. We don't have any members of the public here right now. One thing I did find out, though, I've been watching some other meetings, and apparently this public comment section is meant to be for comments on items or issues that are not on the agenda. That came up at I think it was a Conservation Commission meeting and then another meeting. I always thought it seemed kind of weird that we would open it up for public comment and then would do our discussion of the items later. So that's the point of that, I learned. All right, so let's move on to old business. Let's start with Wyman Meadow. That's what Owen is here to discuss. And first of all, I made a mistake, two mistakes in the agenda. I noted the Conservation Commission 6/27 hearing. It was actually July. It was a 7/27 hearing. And I made the same mistake in the tree committee, item 2 under old business. That was the July 11th meeting, not June 11th. So Owen and I attended the July 27th hearing where the Conservation Commission took up the Wyman Meadows request for, what was that, a request for determination, Owen? And was that the?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, so you want to tell us what happened, or tell Lauren and Maureen what happened?
Yeah, sure. So we presented on the project, specifically the 2 water crossings that are going to be in the wetland buffer zone. I think we both felt like it was very well received by the commission and the public who was in attendance. So we were approved, and it was very exciting. They were very positive about the project. So
Lauren, you have your hand up. Oh no, you're clapping. All right.
Yeah, I'm clapping. No, just that sounds like great news.
All right, I don't think I've seen that little marker used before. Yeah, Warren, Owen, just tell them what it is that you proposed in terms of construction and the bog boards and the
sure. So
okay.
we proposed the entire 1.2 mile trail system, which will go through Wyman Meadow into the North Fork Preserve. The 2 water crossings, one is going to be a 24-foot span bridge, which I believe I've shown drawings of that in previous meetings. It's very simple. And then the second water crossing will be bog boards, which are even simpler. They're built in 10-foot sections, and you sort of just stick them next to each other, and they're just little, you know, platforms for people to walk through muddy sections of trails. So that's what we went in for. They were both approved. One's going through what's an intermittent stream, so that's the bogboard section. So we'll be careful there. We have our preliminary build dates on the calendar. So, you know, what that stream looks like then might change plans, hopefully not, but because of the nature of that stream, it is, you know, kind of, we'll see what it's like.
Oh, and what are your preliminary build dates?
Yeah, so we have September 12th and 13th scheduled to be out there. That's for the construction of the 2 water crossings, because we obviously won't be able to get to the actual trail itself with our equipment until we build those bridges.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then I think for the trail itself, we have the 25th and 26th of September.
Oh, wow.
And we've been in talks with, we've done some projects with staff from REI Hingham in the past.
Oh, yeah.
They like to do volunteer projects, get the staff out and do some team building. So we're hoping part of the group out there can be from that store, and we haven't begun general volunteer recruitment for it yet, but we'll have a good crew for sure.
I was just going to ask you, elaborate a little bit on what you told me for the committee about how you've already got the bog boards built.
Oh yeah. One new thing we're doing this summer at Wildlands Trust is called Summer of Service Learning. So 5 different, you know, specialized skill building days for groups of high school volunteers. One of the days was a carpentry workshop, and we actually had them build the bog boards for North Fork, for Wyman Meadow and North Fork. I think it's right on the line there is where those are going to go. So that's, you know, the labor and the cost of those is now gone, which is awesome. All we need to do is
absorb that.
Yeah, it's through the program budget. So we'll all we have to do is haul them out there.
Great.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
That's also exciting that you'll have REI staff as well. Oh, and I don't think you and I, well, we talked about it generally. I haven't talked with John Hart about this. I mean, I've talked to him about the project, but we didn't talk specifically about whether we would try to get any town volunteers out there.
Yeah.
I mean, do you want us to try to do that, or are they going to be in the way? I mean, is it
no.
easier to just do it, or is to organize a group, or?
I think it's great to organize a group.
Okay.
I've already, right after that meeting, the Concom meeting, I received an email from the neighbor.
Right. Yeah, the man who was there when we did our site visit.
Yes. And yeah. He was all fired up and expressed interest in helping when we're out there getting the trail open. So I'll definitely let him know. And, you know, aside from a couple Wildlands volunteers we have from Bridgewater, I'm not too, you know, privy to folks in Bridgewater. So I think a joint volunteer project would be great, especially to get those future long-term monitors of the preserves. Yeah.
I didn't look at the 12th and 13th. What day of the week?
I think it's a Tuesday and a Wednesday.
Okay. And the 25th and 26th?
Yep, and that's a Monday and a Tuesday.
Okay, all right. So obviously it kind of leaves out working people.
Yeah.
I mean, Lauren, Mike, Mike, I don't know if Mike's schedule is flexible, Mike Sylvia, whether, I mean, I know he works from home, whether he needs to be their sort of normal business hours, or whether he could take any time off. I think he'd probably like to do it. He's not gonna be at the meeting tonight, he can't attend, but I can bring it up with him.
And those days aren't, set in, we can work, if it's better to get a group out on the weekends for most people, we can absolutely move the trail building days. For the water crossing days, we like to keep that to just our staff.
Oh, okay, well, that's kind of what I was getting at. All right,
Yeah.
so all right, so that'll be just staff, okay. All right. Yeah, I can see that, it could be more kind of disorganized, sort of
Yeah.
how whoever shows up for the trail clearing. I mean, you have more bodies, they get more work done, but yeah, I was thinking more of the water crossing, that people could be a hindrance if they didn't know what they were doing, or they were standing around in your way or something, so.
Yeah, it can get too many cooks in the kitchen with
Right,
water
yeah,
crossing
right,
sometimes.
yeah, exactly, so. All right, well, that's great. So, well, we'll talk later then about whether it would be worth trying to have a trail building date on a weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll just see how this goes. The other thing I wanted to mention is, so Wildlands Trust has absorbed the expenses for the bog boards, and we still need, the bridge, I think, and you expected would not exceed $1,000.
Correct.
It's a little longer, I think, than you originally, oh wait, I have to let somebody into the meeting, okay. There would have to be somebody, I've lost my train of thought, that it was a little longer than you thought. You did not have you don't right now know exactly what it'll be. I spoke with Bob Ruley about it, the Community and Economic Development Director, and he seemed to think that the town should be able to pick up $1,000 or less easily.
Okay.
And now I don't know what you think about whether it would, I mean, I don't know either, what would be better, whether we should just ask for $1,000, or whether you want to come up with a specific estimate, showing what the lumber is involved. It might be good to have that, and then if Bob needs it to help me, he'll bring it forward to Michael Dutton, then we would have it. Either way, I'm not sure that it really matters one way or the other. Hopefully it'll get paid, but whatever eases the bureaucracy would probably be worthwhile.
Sure. It's easy for me to put together a budget with the materials list, and
Okay.
the lumber prices fluctuate so much, so I'm sure things have changed since I got the initial budget. Whether they've changed for the better or worse, I'm not sure. So
Okay.
I'll
All right,
get
well, if
that
you
to you
could-
next
Yeah,
week.
if you could put that together and just send it to me, I think that would, then it would be good just to have something concrete to hand him, so he won't forget it, and we'll bring it forward to Michael. And
Sure.
okay. All right, does anybody have any questions about that? Melissa has joined the meeting. Melissa attended that Concom meeting as well, and gave the Open Space Committee a little hand clap as well. Thank you for that, Melissa. All right. So let's move on, unless anybody has any questions about that, let's move on to the tree committee report. And is that Janet Hansen that's joined us? Welcome, Janet. If that's
Thank you. Hello.
Is it you, Janet?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I recognize that from other meetings. That's the only reason why. So, wait, somebody else wants to be admitted too. I don't know who this is. 508-697-8791. That person want to identify themselves? Nope. Okay. So tree committee report. Again, I made a mistake on the agenda. This was actually a July 11th meeting, not the 6th. And I was hoping that Nicole would be on. Let's skip this item for now so that Nicole can report on this if she ends up joining us. Let's move on to the Community Preservation Committee report. I know, Maureen, you said you were not at the last meeting and didn't have, so don't have a report to make. The only thing I specifically wanted to mention, and I don't even know if it happened at the last meeting or if it happened at a prior meeting, is to remind the committee that we had submitted comments to the Community Preservation Committee recently, and then Maureen, I think you seconded them at one of the meetings, that we were very much in favor of the town purchasing those 2 lots on Broad Street next to Stiles and Hart. The one, it's near the Chinese restaurant, and there was one under the billboard, which I understand has been removed. And the Community Preservation Committee was having some discussions about it. There were some members who were not in favor of that, but apparently they did vote for it, and it was approved by the town council, as I understand it as well. So the town has some Community Preservation Committee money set aside for that, or directed for that, but they've also applied for a state grant to, which I understand would reimburse the Community Preservation Committee money to some extent. I don't know if it'll be all of it or not, but Maureen, does that sound like what you've heard or no?
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Okay.
I was away and did not have any internet connection where I was staying, so
Yeah,
I
okay.
missed the meeting unfortunately, but I was glad to hear that they approved the purchase of land, because I did speak up for us, saying that we were back of purchasing, and there was a lot of back and forth about whether it'd be appropriate or not, and they were gonna send town engineers out, so I guess that's what they did.
Yeah,
I had a chance to listen in. I've been away for quite a long time.
oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, my understanding was, I mean, there were issues, and I think perhaps there still are, I'm not sure, about whether that property, either of those 2 lots can actually be used for parking, although it sounds from another meeting I went to, which I'll talk about in a second this week, that has been pretty well determined, but I think they still have some final work to do. But to my way of thinking, and I think we discussed this when we were deciding that we wanted to send a letter, that it just wouldn't make any sense not to acquire those 2 lots, which are right on Broad Street and
Right.
adjacent to this, stellar park, this that we're putting together, this landmark improvement in the downtown area, and why run the risk of, as we talked, somebody puts in a fast food joint or something
Yeah,
there,
right.
and there were people who definitely disagreed, but just, I think, because of the expense involved. I think it was $360,000 was the purchase price for the 2 lots. But it seems to me, given what we're trying to do in the Open Space Committee, is to look at remaining open space land and what it's adjacent to. And so this was a prime example of, we've got this beautiful park, and why not acquire 2 lots that are adjacent to it that might impinge on the park values at some time in the future. So anyway, I think that was a really good outcome, and hopefully our voice made a difference.
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing on Stiles and Hart, well, actually, that's a Stiles and Hart item, so that was just a Community Preservation Committee report. So let's go to item 4, which is review of the Chapter 61 properties. At the last meeting, Lauren and Michael each reviewed for us on Biomap online on their screens the properties that they were able to identify that are Chapter 61 properties currently and are adjacent to other open space in Bridgewater. And that was kind of our starting point for trying to figure out what other properties we might want to focus on at some point, that we encourage the town to consider acquiring or in some way preserving. Lauren, did you happen to do your list? I know Michael said he had sent his to you or something. You guys were both putting a list together with just kind of the details.
We haven't collaborated since
okay,
then,
did he
so we'll have to
send-
put that
did-
off.
Okay, did he send something to you yesterday?
I didn't see anything from him yesterday.
Okay, all right.
I'll
Um,
take a look in my email, so, but we can add this to
we
the
can
next
collaborate. Okay,
agenda.
yeah, well, with
Yeah.
him not being here, yeah, we wouldn't go over it anyway, but it was really, I mean, it's not that critical to what we're trying to do at the moment, except that at least gives us a list, you know, with all of the details that you gave us about the owners, the size, the location, the, you know, just what would make an easy reference point for us to go through those
Right.
in one spot. And if you both can do the same format, so that kind of becomes our, you know, our.
Yeah,
go-to
I'll
one.
look in my email and see if I
Okay.
have his, and
Alright.
then we can make it one list for the
Yes,
next
right,
meeting.
that was the point, yeah, okay, all right. The only other thing I wanted to mention is one of the properties that we thought looked like it was had the most potential from that very cursory overview that we did at our last meeting, is there was a property at the end of South Street, kind of South Street and Green. And Michael was able to show from the biomap classifications that it met every criteria for the state's assessment of the value of property, the ecological value of property. And, you know, wildlife habitat, water protection. Lauren, if you want to list some of the others, feel free to jump in, but so that seemed like the one that sort of jumped out at first, that, you know, that might be the one to look into quickly. So in following up on that, I attended the Conservation Committee hearing because there was a property in that area that appeared on the Concom agenda, and the house in question that was being reviewed at the Concom hearing. I think all of you are probably familiar with the houses that were put behind the pond, kind of right on the bank of the pond at the very end of South Street. Maureen, you must ride by there. You see that, I'm sure. Lauren, do you know where that is? If you go all the way down South Street till South Street.
Yeah, I think I know what
ends-
you're talking about.
Yeah, okay. So there were a number of houses put in along that pond, and apparently one was never finished because they ran into problems with their permitting. I don't know what those were, but they were in front of the Concom to get the final okay. And I was just curious to see whether that, how that related to what we were considering, you know, just the value of this property, that this open space that jumped out. I'm not sure if it's contingent, if it's adjacent to that or not, but I did talk also with Wildlands Trust. I called Scott McFadden, who's the land director or whatever, I can't remember his title, but I thought Wildlands Trust would be a good place to just start, because this is what they do all the time. They look at properties and they assess them for, you know, should they target them as potential open space purchases, conservation restrictions, agricultural, whatever. So he indicated that he's been talking to some people in that area for a number of years. And so anyway, I think we're just going to keep up the discussion with him. I need to talk with Michael more and figure out, you know, exactly what property we're talking about and what ones Wildlands Trust is talking about. And Scott had also talked with another landowner in that area a while back, who he thinks owns some of the property that was on Michael's list, what he identified. So we have a couple of leads on that, and as Scott McFadden always points out, these projects take years. Oh, here, I have to let Pat Marion. That you start talking with these people, and if, you know, maybe in 10 years later, you make some progress. So anyway, I just wanted to say that that's what's happened on those. There were a number of other of those properties where I said I would contact somebody or other, and I didn't. That was all I got done, was that one that was the most promising. Let's see, any questions about that? Anybody? Any comments? Okay. All right, that's one of course, this is another one that we've been looking at for years, so we'll just keep doing that too.
Actually, I do. What's going to happen with that home that never got finished.
Well, they approved finishing it, whatever they were, I
Oh,
think,
okay.
you know, they were having to, I think they had to give them a little bit of leeway on one of the property lines or, oh, well, another issue though, no, this is, this is funny. What came up that has not been resolved and, is the state has to approve that because of that pond there. It's called Sturtevant Pond. But the state person who reviewed the application at the state level said that it's not a pond, it's a river. And I guess the setbacks are different for a river than a pond. So they're trying to determine now what it is. Now, of course, it's been described as a pond for years on the town property descriptions, but of course, what they're looking, the state was looking at hydrologically what it is, which it seems like would control, but whatever the town called it, who knows what, how long that's been. Maybe somebody decided in 1700, let's call it Sturtevant Pond, so it wouldn't seem like that would be the designation that would stick, but they're trying to figure that out. So Pat Neary is still waiting to be let in. Pat,
Yes.
She's the,
Pat, I tried to let you in. If you can hear me, probably not, but.
I'm on the phone, so I can
Oh,
hear you,
that's
but
you. Okay, all right, well, try again. I mean, I've got,
so,
your name popped up and I said, all right, I'll have to let Pat Neary in, and I did, but it didn't work.
but I'm not, so
Yeah,
I'm not
right.
sure what, yeah.
Huh,
Okay,
let me see if
I don't know.
we can hear her. She's on the phone.
right, yeah, that's her at 508, right,
I'll go out and try to come back in.
all right, sorry.
That
Um,
didn't work.
all right, where was I? I don't know. Anyway,
Oh, we're talking about whether it's a river or
all
Sturtevant
right, okay, yeah. All right,
Pond.
not for us to determine, so
Yes, not at all. But
somebody
you
higher
know,
up the food chain, higher pay grade, well,
so that just shows that they can not follow the letter of the law and then ask for forgiveness later rather than ask for permission.
yeah, that's kind of what it sounds like, yeah. yeah.
So is that gonna leave it open for a lot of other builders to do the same thing?
Well, I'm sure that happens with some frequency from time to time anyway. I mean, I know, it happened with someone in my backyard, but,
Doesn't seem like it's quite the way to run.
right, no, but I don't think that that's likely in at this property particularly, because it sounds like what they've been doing is struggling to deal with their compliance issues for years now. And that they have finally gotten this far, and I have no idea what else they've been dealing with. All right, I'm looking for Pat here. No, I can't do it, so, anyway, so I don't know, Maureen, but it's a reasonable
Sounds like
question.
bad business for the town.
Yeah. All right, so, now I'll go to Stiles and Hart update. I did attend a meeting. I was named to the Stiles and Hart Task Force for, I guess, final approval of the plans. And construction and all that. The people who were at the meeting were Kitty Doherty, Jim Small, who is Director of Parks and Recreation, and Monica Bentley. You remember sometimes she attended some of our meetings. She was a member of the Taunton River Watershed, and she's very interested in the river and that sort of thing. So, and I think that was it. And Michael Dutton was supposed to chair the meeting, but he was home with COVID. So, so the consultant, who was Tim Brennan, I think was his name. Actually, I don't have his name in front of me. But anyway, he was the person who has done all the plans, and he went through them in great detail. And I have a copy if anybody has any interest in seeing them. I don't have them. He handed out paper copies, so, but I'm sure if anyone wanted the electronic versions, I could get those for you. Anyway, I didn't have a whole lot to add to that. The Kitty, had some questions about some of the extent of the trails, and there was some discussion about where a canoe launch should be, and Monica had something to say about that. It sounds like they're, by the end of the summer, they expect to be, starting work to some degree. And I don't know what the long-term timeframe is, I mean, I don't know whether it's expected to be done in a year or 6 months or what, but, all right, Pat's back in the admit. All right,
oh my God.
are you
Recording
in?
in progress.
Oops.
Was that
Well,
enough?
Pat, it said you were in and we were getting a weird echo,
Oh, I think everything's okay now.
except are you actually in person? Yeah, okay, you're here and it isn't your phone anymore. All right. All right, welcome, Pat Neary.
Thank you. That was a struggle.
Yes. All right, the one salient factor from that Styles and Hart discussion is that we've talked, and this would be particularly good for Michael to hear, but we've talked about doing signage and for all of the parks in town, that's been something people have been clamoring for years. And what I had heard was that Styles and Hart was going to be the model for everything, the project would entail creation of a park's logo and, a general format for signs and directional signs and trail markers and that sort of thing. And so that we would wait for that to be done as part of Styles and Hart's development, and then we would implement that in all of the other town parks. But apparently, according to this person who was there, the developer, I mean, not the developer, the contractor, under contract with the town, he didn't know anything about that, and that was not something that he knew anybody had plans to do as part of the first stage of the project. So one of the things I wanted to talk to, and I will talk to Michael about, is Michael had a couple conversations with Bob Ruley, because he's interested in helping with signage, and he's mentioned that on our meetings too, that he's a graphic artist. So he'd be very happy to work with the town and try to develop some sort of uniform signs for the parks. And we have to create one for Lyman Meadows probably first, because that's going to be unique, and that it's going to talk about the town and Wildlands Trust. So it's not going to be a standard sign. So what I took from this discussion is that and I'll tell Owen this too, but he's not on anymore, is that we should just go ahead and I'll tell Michael that we should start designing what we'd like to see done for Lyman Meadows, and then let the town react to that, and maybe what we come up with would be useful in their deliberations later about what to put at Styles and Hart, and then we'll take it from there. So that's a little different than what we had anticipated before coming out of that project. So, but
If I may,
Yep.
I thought that when we were out there, I think it was the day we all got wet,
yeah,
it was decided that the kiosk that was up there was something that was going to stay, and it just needed some repair. Are we going to do something more extensive than that?
no, I don't think so. I think that kiosk is fine, and it's also, that kiosk looks very much like the one that's at Carver Pond. It's similar to the one that's at Titicut. Oh, actually, no, I don't remember Titicut, but it's similar to the ones at Tuckerwood. And I just, it's very similar to many of the Wildlands Trust properties, so it seems to be somewhat of a uniform look. I think it's similar to the Great River Preserve signs. So no, that one, I think we had decided we would just keep. But we would, of course, add new signage to it, because there's really not much up there now, hasn't been for years, so. But it's supposed to be in good shape, construction wise. So, yeah, so that'll.
So the kiosk will stay, but you'll add more to it to
Yes, Yeah.
flesh it out.
Yeah.
Make it more useful, user friendly.
Right, and it'll include some sort of signage with, trail markers and all that we'll develop with Wildlands Trust, although they're experts at this, so I don't know how much we'll need to do for them or with them. But what we will have to do is get approval from the town, because this is going to be a joint property. And I don't think there's anything else in the town, certainly not in the parklands, not that I know of, that is a joint property, so it will be unique in that respect. All right. Any questions on Styles and Hart, anyone? No, okay. All right, now on to everybody's favorite topic, Lake Nip. So the planning board had a hearing. All right, this one I put 8/16, that did happen, that was just last night, I believe. I should have mentioned that there was also one on July 24th, I think it was. And I wanted to mention that one too, because what I wanted to tell you, Nicole's still not here, so anyway, if you remember, Nicole drafted a letter noting that this project didn't include any state-of-the-art water retention or mitigation improvements, and that so much more could be done from a green perspective. And I sent you all saw that letter, I hope. I mean, I sent it to you, and so that letter was submitted to the planning board some time ago, and at this public hearing on the 24th, I made comments, submitted comments to the board, or spoke to the board about the content of that letter and why we thought the project was not a good idea, and certainly not in the way that it was presented. So what I wanted to talk about tonight, in the next item on the comments of the Conservation Commission, is what we should do, well, for that hearing, which is coming up on August 24th. But, I was hoping to discuss this with Nicole, because it would be really helpful if she has anything new to add. But I think if we don't hear from her, if she's not able to, there's certainly plenty to be said. And there hasn't been a whole lot of improvement to the project, if any. They have conceded one issue related to a tomb that people were claiming had historic preservation, and they're saying no, historic preservation value, and the developer's saying no, it doesn't, but we're gonna be nice and preserve it anyway, just to, show you that we're reasonable.
Eileen, did you notice they called it a root cellar?
A root cellar, yeah, right, yeah, there was some question of whether it was a Native American burial ground, I guess. and-
Trying to belittle it, right?
Yeah, right, yeah, so. Anyway, so that I'd encourage any of you, like, Lauren, Maureen, if you're around on the next, Patty, do I have the date right? When is the Concom?
Oh, 24th.
It is the 24th, okay, that's what I thought.
Right.
Next week, the 24th, the meeting is at 6, I believe. And if you're interested in just hearing how that property is discussed, and what I've learned over this long drawn out process is that a lot of the comments that we're making to the planning board are really more appropriately made to the Conservation Commission. I mean, this is not, I'm not familiar with this process. I haven't gone through a large project like this that goes to both boards, the boards of both this and whatever else, the town council and everything else. So it's been a learning curve for me, and I think for all of us, and that's one of the big frustrations in this whole process, is the developers keep filing new plans, and there's never any narrative, there's never any written narrative, so they're just site plans. And so unless you know how to read the site plan, and you have the capability of putting them side by side and trying to figure out what's changed, it's really quite difficult. I don't know how to read a site plan. that's what Nicole was able to do very quickly and put together the comments she did. So I am hopeful that she'll be able to look at the latest version prior to next week, and that she can help us submit another letter. What I'd like from this group tonight is I'd like a motion to submit comments to the Conservation Commission. In Maureen or Lauren, if you would make a motion to that end, if you're so
Yeah.
inclined.
I'll make a motion to submit comments to the Conservation Commission.
Okay, Maureen,
I'll second it.
all right, and I'm certainly in favor. So we'll get something off to them before the hearing, and I do plan on attending the hearing. And I put down the 8/16, which was last night. I'm not sure where we ended up on all that. Pat or Melissa, do you have anything you want to add? I mean, it wasn't concept. They didn't decide anything is the bottom line. And so there's some questions they've asked for. One of the planning board members asked for a review of town council of the level of review required for this property, and there's still a number of outstanding issues. I mean, I think there are planning board members who are very interested in making sure that the environmental issues are addressed. But to what extent that'll happen is still, to what extent it can happen in the planning board, at the planning board level is one question, and then whether it will or not, and then the Conservation Commission is the other place to focus for the upcoming week, so.
I think, hi Eileen, it's Melissa. I think the good news is that the public hearing is still open. So people should continue to comment and send their comments to CED, and also comment for this upcoming Conservation Commission meeting on Thursday, next Thursday.
Yeah, the planning board hearing is still open, so people can.
Yeah, so that public hearing is still open, and the Concom public hearing, we think, will be open on Thursday, August 24th.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Any questions about that? Anybody else want to add anything? Melissa, on behalf of the Lake Nipponicket Action Focus Team, has done yeoman's work on this. She continues to do an amazing amount of research and put together very well thought out and organized comment letters, and
Yeah.
it really
We have an amazing team of people, and everybody brings their expertise and interests to the table, and it's because it's been a constant, they want to develop, and we need to ensure that it's done responsibly, right? So.
Yeah. Okay, so, I think I was saying, I mean, one of the things that I find frustrating is that when we have citizens who are trying to participate in this process, and you can't just get a simple letter from the developer saying, this is what the new plan says, we're changing this, like this last one, we're removing the root cellar, we're moving the lines in. And I asked the CED director the other day when I was meeting with him if there isn't something that could be done so that townspeople are given more information to figure out what's going on. And I mean, I don't know, this must be what, the 7th or 8th version that's been submitted of this plan, even just in the year and a half or 2 years that we've been involved, not to mention that it's been going on since 1988, but and he said that most developers do that Claremont is particularly difficult to work with, but I do understand that the town staff does send the planning board a summary of what they are being asked to review. So I think what I want to push for at some point is if, you know, when there's a big controversial property, a project like this, that why can't the citizens be given the courtesy of reviewing that, the same summary? I mean, obviously, the planning board may get some information that the public shouldn't be privy to, but just in terms of a narrative of what's going on and what the new submission entails, it seems like that'd be something that the town could post.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I almost said that last night, but I don't know, the temperature was getting a little hot in
Yeah,
that Zoom call. I was,
yeah, for sure.
yeah, it was not pleasant, so. All right, I'm ready to move off of Lake Nip unless anybody else wants to add anything. Oh, Janet. Oh, yes, Janet's noted that a lot will depend on the Concom and MIPA, yeah. Yeah, that was one of the issues that keeps coming up, is whether the town should avoid making any decisions, any permitting decisions, until MIPA weighs in. Is saying that they're running on parallel tracks, but they don't really interlap. I mean, the town can, MIPA will have to give some clearance before it can move forward, but that doesn't mean that the town can't also take what steps it needs to do with its own permitting process, so. And they are negotiating with MIPA at this point. All right. Last item is parks info. Town website and social media. The reason I put this on today, there really wasn't a whole lot new to add, and especially with Michael not on the call. But I did have an interesting conversation with Jim Small. I mentioned he was at the Styles and Hart meeting that I went to, and he is Parks and Rec director. And I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but we, for well over a year, probably 2 years, have been trying to get the link, we posted on our own website all of the information about the 6 town parklands. And Parks and Rec has a link to Parks and Rec. And if you click on Parks, what it shows is Legion Field and Scotland Golf Course. And I talked to Josh, I don't know who, I mean, we talked to John Hart, who's attended these meetings a number of times. And so Jim Small was at this Styles and Hart meetings, and I said, oh, by the way, and he was just, yeah, he said they don't know what to do, that they have tried to get it changed too. He said, yeah, it's ridiculous that it's not there. And that he's talked with the town tech people, and it's just not happening. And so I wasn't sure where to go next. So
Have they given any reason why they can't connect these together?
no, I mean, it sounds more like it's just a question of the priorities of the IT people within the town, you know, that they, however many changes they're requested or whatever they're requested to do, that it's just this maddening bureaucracy. And well, actually, I don't know if any of you just saw, I mean, if you had the same problem getting on when I went to the town meetings and agendas. Did you have that problem, Pat?
I always have a problem lately.
Well, yeah, but this time it was
Never-
a totally different format. Instead of
never
the
used
meeting
to,
appearing with
yeah.
the link, you
I
know, there
never-
was the agenda. Now, I
Yeah.
was able to get in another way, but it was totally different. And Josh said, oh yeah, our web, the company that manages our web is making all sorts of changes. So, you know, anyway, I don't know. I won't start ranting about changes. I mean, every day I open AOL and there's something new. So anyway, I was glad that I talked with Jim Small. I feel like at least we know it's not Parks and Rec that isn't interested. It's a higher issue problem, and I will talk to somebody next. I'll probably go back to Josh for starters I mean, I hate to involve Bob Ruley or Michael Dutton in something this trivial, but
Yeah, it's got to be the IT department.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
you know,
and I did talk with when we first went on Zoom, I was having some issues, and I did talk with somebody from IT. It seems like I have a number of and he was pretty helpful at the time. So
But Eileen,
Yeah.
you said you hate to bother Michael about something this trivial, but it truly isn't, because there have been numbers of times I've heard or read or seen or whatever, people not knowing, not being aware of the parklands.
Oh, yeah.
In this town, that, that's not trivial. They should all, it should be so easy to find these. And
Yeah.
that they're not hooked up is just, at this time, because it shouldn't be that challenging for somebody in IT to do that.
Yeah,
Right.
Janet Hanson is saying the same thing. It's not trivial. Department town manager needs to be continuously nagged at, loud squeaky wheel. Hopefully we'll get them to do something. So, all right, Janet, we hear you. And I hear Maureen. All right, I'll go straight to the top. I don't think I'm ready to go to town council yet, but I'll try an email to Michael and Bob, telling them that I've had this conversation with Jim Small, and we'll bug him till it gets done. All right, I don't have any new I think that new business got left on from last time. You're all probably seeing you've all gotten postcards, I assume, for the Bridgewater revitalization project that the Bob Ruley is spearheading. I think it would be really good. There are meetings coming up. I think if we could have some open space people attend some of these meetings. I don't know, there's one big one on September, I don't remember, but there are multiple ones, so I think,
September 26th is the big one.
okay, and where is that, Janet?
Oh, you had to ask. It is, I got the thing here, I think, at
Yeah, I
the Mitchell Elementary School,
Oh, that's right, okay, yeah.
South Street. That's the
Yeah.
Mitchell School, South Street,
Yeah, all right.
6:30.
What time?
6:30.
Okay, all right, so hopefully, some of us can make that, and if not that one, can you think you can, Maureen?
No, I can't, but I was at the last one.
Oh, okay, which one was
Yeah,
that?
at the library. I was there for that.
Oh, good, okay. All right, well, Lauren, you ought to keep your eyes open for one. I mean, there's not a whole lot of open space issues directly related to this, but it's in the big picture, it's exactly what needs to happen, as you focus development in developed areas, and you don't have to open up your green space for other projects. Janet, you had your hand up?
Yes, it is important if you think about it for the revitalization, I can't say it, for what Bob Ruley is saying, they're trying to attract people to town and be walking community and all this stuff. And if having the parks, they talked about, that's an important thing to attract people to town. And you can't do that if you can't find it on the website, and you can't do that if you don't see signs. So it is an important thing. It may be not right smack in the center of town, but I think it's something worth nagging them at. And
Oh, okay, so you're talking about the sign linkage. We had moved on to the Bridgewater revitalization.
It's part of
no, that's part of it. I'm saying this I can't say the word. But
Revitalization.
thank you. Mentioning it at the meeting and making them aware, that is important part is the park and open space area, because people are attracted to that. And if they're trying to, spruce up the town, vision to reality, or whatever, and I can't say the word. That is, that's an important part of it too, along with everything else they're trying to do. So, you're talking about maybe somebody going to the meeting and doing this, and I think that's worth it. To put the 2 cents worth in, and or at least sending them a note, because they're trying to get supposedly feedback on what people want, but I don't know how much it's going to be listened to be honest.
Yeah, right, yeah. Maureen?
I did bring that up at the meeting, excuse me, at the meeting at the library. I did bring that up about, there seems to be a whole missing, or there should be a link about recreation and about, that people don't know where the parks are. They need to know about that. That people want to know about, is there any place to ride your bike? Is there any place to go play tennis? That whole rec a big overall rec thing. He wasn't that interested. He said, yeah, and I said, well, bring people in. I said, even dog parks, people talk about needing a dog park. I said, those are the types of things people look for in the community they want to move to. And, but the guy in charge seemed to like, meh.
Well, I guess I haven't looked close enough to know exactly what the scope is. I mean, was he looking at just the Roach Brothers Plaza? Is that what you were looking at, or was it a much broader?
Oh, they talked about a lot of things. They talked a lot about the the need for construction of 1,400 units
Right,
for the T and where
Right.
those might go and how that's part of the big picture. They also talked about money available to for the small business people to clean, fix up their areas downtown and make it, just spruce things up, and then maybe
Yeah.
it's available for all that. So I did hit upon a lot of things, but I did say, and I did bring up about the rec part of it. It just wasn't received. I mean, you heard what I said, but didn't really,
right, okay.
wasn't that big.
All right, Melissa has her hand up also.
Yeah, I just want to mention, like, open space is a big part of that overall vision, right? And they're having all of these workshops next week. I noticed planning board and a bunch of the different parts of the town organization are having these workshops. I mean, open space should be part of these workshops, I would think. They're close to the public, but they are, for the folks that are doing the business of the town.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
I would,
that's an interesting point. So I mean, these are for specific committees or
Yes.
groups of committees?
yeah, I'll look at this site right now, Eileen, and let me check it out and I'll tell you who's on the agendas here.
Okay, yeah.
I definitely saw planning board,
Yeah,
And,
okay,
and town council. Yeah,
town council, okay.
yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, why, like, I would think that other commissions and committees could be added on to these workshops, right?
Yeah.
It looks
Yeah,
like they've got a
the
consultant come in.
Historic Commission might be one, to consider, and
Yeah,
Parks and Rec,
Well, if
Yeah,
he's trying to focus on downtown, he's
Yes.
probably,
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I
He's
don't understand this to
interest-
be a looking at the planning. It's not a master plan for the town. It's really a focus on the urban core. To
Yeah,
the extent that
that's-
we have an urban core is how I understand it.
yeah.
but even creating some open space within that urban core,
Yeah, oh yeah, I
like,
think well, of course, we're gonna have Styles and Hart, which is
yeah,
a lot of
right.
open space in a downtown area, so.
Yeah, true.
I mean, that's gonna be a gem, and it should be an important part that already exists of the amenities that will be available to
Mhm.
higher density housing if they
Yeah,
go through, so. I don't think, and I know okay, that makes me remember one of the other items that Kitty Doherty has been pushing for years, and now she is seeing as something that can be worked into this urban revitalization plan, is the bridge that's been talked about for years, between where the Town River Landing is, behind the Bridgewater Cable BTV.
Right, right.
station, over to Styles and Hart. The current Styles and Hart, the plans that are going forward right now for Styles and Hart do not include that bridge. It's always been, as Maureen and I know from years past, that it's some degree impractical, at least it was then. The huge engineering studies and building, piles going down into the river, and a major project with huge hurdles. But now, once Styles and Hart is up and, is on the books, and such a stellar town amenity, maybe getting a connection to the wider community through the bridge might be
right.
the point. It might be now that the time is right for that. And
Yeah.
so I know Maureen, you still don't think so.
It's gonna be millions and millions of dollars
Yeah,
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 elsewhere. And you can just walk around next to the bridge that's already existing, that goes over the river on Route 18, and you bag a right, and there you are, you're in there. I don't understand the need for it.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's a
All right,
useless.
well, maybe it will never happen, but anyway, Kitty will have a new forum to discuss
Oh,
it.
she's pushing it. They
Yeah,
are.
right, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, but at least now she's seeing it as something that, you know, she'll try to push through the, through the,
Yep.
this downtown revitalization project, so, anyway. All right. Lauren, are you putting your hand up? No,
No, just
Okay.
playing with the settings.
oh,
I have
okay.
to go soon because it's bedtime over here for my
Yeah,
son.
yeah, it's bedtime here too. Actually, we are done. Next meeting, unless anybody else has anything else to say about the revitalization. I think I'll try to remind you all of these upcoming hearings so that every one of us, oh, who's that, Lauren?
This is my son, Julian.
Hi, Julian.
Wave hi. Yeah, Julian.
Hi. Oh, my goodness.
Hi,
Thank you for
Julian.
bringing him on TV.
I tell you how old I
How old are
am.
you? How old are you?
Oh,
Five.
cool.
I don't think we
Almost
believe
third.
that, but.
On September 3rd.
All right, Julian. Thank you.
All right, thanks for coming, Lauren.
Okay.
Oh, I
Bye,
thought you were
everyone.
getting off. Okay, you can get off.
Yeah.
Good night.
All right. Good night.
All right, good night. All right, so the meeting's adjourned at 8:03 p.m.
And the next meeting's when?
Oh, yeah, sorry. The next meeting is Thursday, September 21st, 2023 at 7 p.m. on Zoom.
I won't be here.
Oh, okay. All right, you and I should get together and get caught up sometime, Maureen, on.
Yep, that'd be fine. Sure.
All right. Thank you for participating, everybody. It's good to have you.
Thank
Janet,
you.
welcome to your first Open Space Committee meeting and hope to see you again.
Good night.
Thank you. It's hard to get the notices. I don't get them until you start the meeting. I don't know what's wrong. They're trying to supposedly work on the
You
town
know,
website.
yeah, I'm not getting any notices.
I don't get 'em
I have
until-
signed up twice for council, planning board. I get nothing.
I get them when it starts. That doesn't do you a lot of good if
Yeah,
you're
Yeah,
wearing. So, but thank
yeah,
you.
I don't, that's, I don't know, that's a real issue. And it happened once to me and I signed up all over again. I eliminated them all and I still don't get anything. All right, technology, love it. Thank you, good night.